To change that
let's put this in now. There are now some people who are attacking the outspoken student survivors for their activism and their voices. Among the most brutal was from author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. After the Florida House voted down consideration of assault weapons ban, he tweeted, quote, "Adults 1, kids 0." He also mocked a student who wept after the vote, tweeting, quote, "Worst news since their parents told them to get summer jobs." You know, I've known this guy since his days at the Dartmouth Review. I still don't understand him. I don't even know why his voice is allowed out there. And there's two other people like this that at some point need to get a life and figure out something else to do with their time.
So Donald Trump Jr. hit the like button.
Oh, there's a fourth.
On this tweet from a conspiracy theorist who used the school massacre to attack both a student survivor and the FBI. And reminiscent of Alex Jones after Newtown, an aide to a Florida state lawmaker was fired after he used his state email to tell a journalist that two of the student activists were not actually students, but actors. To that, Senator Marco Rubio tweeted, claiming some of the students on TV after Parkland are actors is the work of a disgusting group of idiots with no sense of decency. Unfortunately, that's gone mainstream.
And here's Fox News host Tucker Carlson and a guest last night.
All of a sudden, you're seeing these kids involved in calls for very specific pieces of legislation. And the allegation has been that they are in some way in contact with organized anti-gun groups. And people who have suggested that have been denounced as immoral and heartless. And how dare you question these kids, or which, for the record, I am certainly not doing.
Where their voices would be valuable is where were the signs missed? These students were there. They dealt with this kid every day. But the media's focused more on a teenager's expertise in supply-side control measures for guns, which, Tucker, let's be candid, they probably have not studied a very complicated, layered issue.
So let's get it straight.
Yeah.
On Tucker Carlson's show last night, a guest actually blamed the students for the slaughter, for not being perceptive enough to report. And then, you know, saying that these students are not experts, they cannot speak out against these mass killings where children are gunned down in their schools because they're not experts at what? Supply side gun economics or whatever he said. That's like saying that my kids couldn't look up at the towers as they were like burning and falling to the ground. And knowing people inside, if they had known people inside the towers who had died, and said, "Oh, you have no right to talk about that because you just,
not an architect.
You don't have the architectural background to understand why those buildings crashed." I mean, this is we could do all the numbers. I mean, but it is more people die from guns than die per year easily than died at 9/11. 9/11 took place, everything stopped. The city stopped, the country stopped, everybody stopped. And Bush and Cheney implemented the 1% solution, did whatever it took to stop the next terror attack, and Americans went along with them. And in this case, we're having 9/11 at least every year. Our kids' schools are getting shot up. And again, listen, I probably am far more conservative on guns than most of the people, not only here, but maybe you hunt, right?
I hunt.
Yeah, I think Vanderheim might be pretty conservative on guns too. So, but you know, the thing is, all I'm talking about is bump stocks, background checks, and limiting the sale of assault style weapons.
Right.
And by the way, I don't even mind if they put them, you know, in hunting clubs and all this other stuff, and they're just regulated more. But we're talking about a small section of you know, the gun industry right now, and just trying to make it safer. And these people are freaking out. They're attacking victims.
Yeah, this shouldn't be that hard. There is common ground that we should be able to find using simply common sense. And look, there may be areas where we disagree about how exactly this regulation should occur, but the fact that there should be regulation, particularly when it comes to background checks, assault weapons, and bump stocks, obviously,
right.
We should be able to find common ground. It shouldn't be that hard. But our political process is paralyzed right now, and has been for quite some time, because of the NRA's ability to mobilize these single-issue voters. And President Obama did write an op-ed in his last year in office, indicating that he was going to be a single-issue voter on this, and that he was only going to support candidates who supported common-sense gun control. I'll remind you that Bernie Sanders at the time was not particularly pleased with the writing of that op-ed, because it raised some questions about his own record. But that's the kind of commitment that we're going to have to demonstrate to this issue, sustained commitment both on the Democratic and Republican side.
The other side on this is showing such a lack of humanity to not support these kids, no matter what your views are on gun rights and protections. You know what? Think about it. Dinesh D'Souza, you have been fighting so hard for free speech so you can write some of the most astounding things I've ever read in my life over the past few decades, and yet you won't give them a moment to use their voices? That's cruel hypocrisy. And it's wrong. And this is where we're at. I mean, these kids can't even get our support universally at this time?
You know, the thing is, if you disagree with the kids, you know, there's a limitation on the speech. It's called time, place, manner.
There's also humanity
for the First Amendment. For the First Amendment, I think in this case, time, place, manner, just as far as common sense go. Yes, you have a right to attack children who just a week ago were traumatized, but just why do it? Just wait. You know, the thing is that the time is coming. There are going to be changes that are going to be made in gun laws. Maybe not this year, but it's coming very soon. This extreme position, this absolutist position, is coming to an end. It's coming to an end because our gun laws are actually allowing the most unbalanced in society to go in and shoot up schools, shoot up Baptist churches, shoot up country music concerts. And Americans at some point are going to say, enough is enough. We've got to fix this. And the Supreme Court, by the way, for people, I want to just be straight about this. And there are a lot of people that lie to you. If you are a gun activist, you are lied to all the time, and you are told that having military-style assault weapons, military-style weapons, or assault-style weapons are your constitutional right, that it's embedded in the Second Amendment, it's embedded in the Constitution. It is not, all right? Go back and read Heller, 2008. That will tell you what the Supreme Court and Scalia said were your constitutionally protected rights. You have the right to have handguns in your home. You have the right to have shotguns in your home to protect your family. The court keeps allowing states to ban assault-style weapons. They allowed the state of California. I mean, you look at this. California firearm waiting period for 10 days. The Supreme Court let that stand as constitutional. They didn't say that. No, we don't need to hear that case. Maryland's assault weapons ban in 2017. The Supreme Court said, yeah, we're going to let that stand. There's nothing unconstitutional in that. We don't want to hear the case. 2017. California's concealed carry law ban. They let that stand. They let the 2016 New York and Connecticut gun laws stand, which are some of the most expansive in this country. They let San Francisco's law on handguns stand. They let New Jersey's concealed carry law stand. They let New York's open carry law stand. Now listen, on the substance of the matter, let's be clear, because there's so many people that say so many stupid things every day, and I have to read it on my Twitter feed about guns. So many ignorant, not stupid, ignorant things. There are a lot of things on that list that I disagree with. But the Supreme Court says those are not constitutionally protected rights. States can limit those rights. Justice Scalia in 2008 said, like the First Amendment, Second Amendment rights are limited. So if you want to make the argument that the Supreme Court should protect your right, to have military-style weapons, that's legitimate, that's fair. But if you say it is your God-given constitutional right to have an AR-15, that is not what the Second Amendment says, and that is not what the Supreme Court says. It's not even what Justice Scalia said in 2008. Now, Justice Thomas is on your side right now, but it appears that nobody else on the 9-seat Supreme Court